Kara came home that evening, all smiles, like she was untouched by the world. Her hair was perfect, a glossy wave that seemed like it had been styled at some high-end salon, not the inside of a sweaty gym. Her makeup was flawless, not a smear of mascara or a bit of shine on her face. I looked at her, every detail hitting me like a hammer. She was holding her gym bag, but it was still shaped like it hadn't been used. No crease where a water bottle would sit, no bounce where a towel or change of clothes would be packed. And her shoes, pristine. Brand new, it seemed. Kickboxing class was brutal today, she said. Her voice too bright, too rehearsed. Trainer's a total beast, but I'm killing it. I nodded, feeling the weight of her words hanging in the air. But I didn't say anything. I just watched her, not even bothering to pretend I was interested. I let her talk about the workout, how hard it was, how she almost puked. It was all the right things, the right timing. But there was something in her tone, like she was trying too hard to sell the story. She plopped down next to me on the couch, like it was a normal night, the same as always. I didn't challenge her. I didn't ask why her gym bag hadn't moved, or why her shoes looked untouched. I just let her ramble. I didn't even blink. "Everything good with you?" she asked, glancing at me with those wide eyes, all innocence. I lied. "Yeah, everything's fine." We sat there in the silence, the kind of silence that wasn't really silence at all. The kind that builds a wall between you and the other person, brick by brick. And I could feel it. But I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. The next few days felt like a slow-motion loop. Every evening, like clockwork, Kara would leave for the rec center at exactly 6:30 p.m., same quick kiss. Same "see you later." Nothing out of the ordinary. She'd be back by 7:50, 8 o'clock at the latest. Her story didn't change. Same gym bag, same new trainer, same exhausted but happy act. But I started noticing the little things. The way she'd walk through the door all fresh, all bright-eyed. It didn't add up. One night, I decided to follow her. Just a feeling in my gut, a sense that the pieces didn't fit. I waited in the car, parked down the street, my hands tight on the wheel. She pulled out of the driveway just like always, and I followed, keeping a safe distance. She didn't even look in her rearview mirror. She was too busy thinking she had it all figured out. At the rec center, she pulled into the lot. I stayed back, parked across the street, and just watched her. I was close enough to see her get out of the car, tug her gym bag over her shoulder, the same bag from earlier. Same clothes, too, those perfectly clean workout pants and that tight top that barely looked like it had seen a gym. I watched her disappear inside, no hesitation, no weird glances back. Everything seemed fine, except it wasn't. I let her be. The door shut behind her. I sat there in the car for a while, just thinking, feeling like the biggest idiot for second-guessing her. It looked right from the outside, but something was still off. The gym bag, her clothes, her energy. It didn't match the person who'd just come from kickboxing class. I didn't accuse her that night. I didn't rush in, throw her secrets in her face. I knew better than that. I waited. I let it sit. Over the next few nights, I stopped following her. I didn't need to anymore. It didn't take a tale to see the cracks in the story. She would come home the same way. Her routine never changed. The bag stayed perfect, the clothes pristine. Her act was flawless, and it pissed me off that she thought I wouldn't notice. The more I watched her, the more it hit me. This wasn't just about her leaving. This was about how she never came back. She'd gone somewhere else long before she ever stepped out the door. And I wasn't stupid enough to ignore it. She talked to me about the trainer, about the tough sessions, but it was like listening to a script. The same lines, the same energy, the same excuses. Everything repeated until it sounded hollow. Like she was trying to convince herself as much as me. I didn't ask questions. I didn't push for answers. I just kept letting her run her little routine. Because deep down, I knew she was counting on me to keep playing the fool. But I wasn't. Not anymore. I reached out to Marissa a few days later, when the weight of it all felt like it was finally about to crush me. I wasn't sure why I chose her, but something in me figured if anyone knew the truth, it'd be her. She was close to Kara, and always had that way of slipping under the radar, hearing things she wasn't supposed to. I called her up, set a time to meet at the diner down on 5th Street, the kind of place that only seemed to exist in movies. Dim lights, sticky menus, and coffee that tasted like burnt rubber. Perfect. She was already there when I walked in, sitting in one of the booths, her back to the window, staring at her phone. When she looked up, I almost forgot she was Kara's cousin. The resemblance was there, but Marissa had this edge to her that Kara never did. She gave me a half smile when I slid into the booth across from her. "What's up?" she asked, her voice low, like she already knew why I was there. I took a deep breath, the kind you take when you know the next words out of your mouth could change everything. "Is Kara seeing someone else?" Marissa didn't hesitate. She looked around the diner, then back at me, her eyes narrowing. "You know about Thursday nights, right?" I didn't answer, just waited. I could feel the sweat on the back of my neck, but I kept my voice steady. Marissa shifted in her seat, her hands fidgeting with the salt shaker. I overheard her on the phone once. She was yelling at someone about Thursday nights. It was ugly, like she didn't even care who heard it. My stomach twisted, but I didn't flinch. "Did she say who it was?" She shook her head. "No name." She was too pissed off to even say much. "But it's obvious, you know? Something's going on." I exhaled, the weight in my chest lifting just a little. The confirmation was like a door opening. I hadn't imagined it. I hadn't been the crazy one. "Thanks," I said quietly. "I won't mention it to her." Marissa nodded, and for a second, I could see the weight of it all on her too. She wasn't exactly innocent in this. She knew what was going on, and still, she kept quiet. But then again, who was I to judge? We sat there for a minute, neither of us speaking. The sound of silverware clinking and the low hum of the diner's neon lights filled the silence. I felt like I was in some strange dream, like the world was spinning a little too fast, but everything was still. I thanked her again, and we both stood. I slid my coat on, but before I left, I glanced at her one more time. "You're sure you didn't hear anything else? No names? No details?" She shook her head. "No. But you already know enough, don't you?" I didn't answer. I just walked out, the chill of the night air biting at my skin, but for the first time in a while, I felt a little clearer, a little calmer. Maybe it wasn't the whole truth, but it was enough. I stopped following her after that. No more tailing her to the rec center. No more checking her gym bag for signs of where she'd really been. I didn't need to. It was clear. Her act was getting old, and I wasn't buying it anymore. Instead, I let things play out. One night, I went out with Ray, an old friend from work. He'd been asking me to meet up for weeks, and I realized I needed something, anything, to get out of that house for a while. So we grabbed beers at a dive bar, the kind with sticky floors and old jukebox songs. For the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't feel like I was holding my breath, waiting for Kara to slip up. The conversation was easy, nothing heavy. Ray talked about his new girlfriend, some job drama, all the usual stuff. But I felt light, like I'd finally let go of something I didn't even realize I'd been holding on to. When I got home that night, it was later than usual. I stepped inside, the quiet of the house hitting me first. Kara wasn't on the couch like she usually was, watching some show on Netflix. I found her in the kitchen, standing in front of the fridge, looking like she'd been waiting for me. "Where were you?" she asked, her voice tight, like she didn't quite believe I had an answer. "Out with Ray," I said, shrugging as I leaned against the doorframe. She glanced up, a flicker of something crossing her face, like she hadn't expected that. "Oh, you didn't tell me." I didn't give her anything else. I didn't need to. I just stood there, watching her, letting the silence fill the space between us. She closed the fridge with a soft thud, her eyes on me now, calculating. "You okay?" I nodded, not bothering to explain myself further. "Yeah." For a moment, I could see the wheels turning in her head, trying to work out the shift in the air. She tried to poke around a little more, asking what Ray and I talked about, how long I'd been gone, the usual stuff. But it was like her words bounced off me. I didn't offer any details. No stories, no excuses. Just short answers, nothing for her to cling to. She shifted, running her hand through her hair, a little too forced. You know, you could have told me you were going out. Her tone was a little sharper now, a little more controlled. I didn't bite. I didn't react. I let the quiet sit between us like an open wound. The kind of silence you don't fill with words, because there's nothing left to say. She exhaled, clearly trying to figure out what to do with the fact that I wasn't giving her anything. Well, I just think it's weird you didn't say anything. I raised an eyebrow, still leaning against the doorframe. Why? We've been doing fine. She stared at me for a beat, the tension in her shoulders growing. You sure about that? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The silence did the talking. And in that moment, I felt something shift. For the first time, it wasn't just her pulling away from me. It was me pulling away from her. It was like I dropped the rope, stopped tugging, stopped chasing after her with every little scrap of my attention. I didn't need to chase anymore. I didn't need to play her game. And I think, for the first time, she knew it. The lawyer's office was in a small, nondescript office park, the kind of place you could walk past 100 times without ever noticing. There was a sterile smell in the air, like fresh carpet cleaner and printer ink. The receptionist barely looked up when I signed in, and the lawyer, Mr. Caldwell, was exactly what I expected. Late 50s, thinning hair, and a suit that looked like it came from a catalog no one had touched in years. He led me into a tiny conference room, sat across from me with a folder, and didn't waste any time. Tell me what's going on, he said. I didn't hesitate. I laid it all out, facts, not feelings. I told him about Kara's gym routine, the clean clothes, the unexplained gaps. I told him about the arguments I'd overheard, the Thursday nights, and what Marissa had shared. I didn't include the hurt or the frustration. It wasn't about that anymore. I gave him timelines, inconsistencies, little things that didn't add up. When I finished, he sat back, flipping through the folder as if I hadn't just laid my life on the table. He didn't need proof, not yet. It's enough to start, he said. We don't need hard evidence right now. The narrative you've provided, it's enough to move forward. I exhaled. I had expected it, but hearing him say it like that hit me harder than I thought it would. The decision was already made, but I still felt the weight of it, pressing against my chest like I was holding my breath. He slid a form across the table. Sign here. I did. No hesitation. No second-guessing. Just a sharp line through the paper, a final stroke to start the end. When I walked out of the office, it felt like I was walking on autopilot. There was no joy, no satisfaction. I just moved through the motions, the world still spinning around me, but everything different. Back home, I didn't say anything to Kara. I didn't need to. She was in the kitchen, humming something to herself as she prepped dinner. She looked up when I walked in, a smile tugging at the corner of her lips. Hey, how was your day? Fine, I said, shrugging off my jacket and tossing it on the couch. Same old. She gave me one of those bright smiles that didn't quite reach her eyes, like she was playing a part. Good. I'm glad. I nodded, not offering more. The house was quiet, almost too quiet. I could feel the weight of what I'd just done in the pit of my stomach, but I wasn't about to show it. I wasn't about to give her any kind of window into the change that had already happened. Not yet. Kara kept talking, like she hadn't noticed the shift in the air. She asked about my plans for the weekend, if I wanted to go out with her and a few friends. It was the same script, the same act. She didn't know that I had already signed away what we were. She didn't know that I was done pretending with her. So, I let her keep pretending. I sat down at the table, the knife in my hand almost feeling too heavy, but I didn't say anything. I didn't tell her about the papers, about the step I'd just taken. I let her keep her mask on, keep pretending that everything was still working, that we were still fine, because for the first time I wasn't chasing her anymore. She could play her part, but I wasn't going to be the fool. It didn't take long for things to start unraveling. Kara stopped going to the gym. At first, I thought maybe it was a phase or she'd been sick, but then it stretched into days, then weeks. Her gym bag, the one she used to carry around like a badge of honor, sat untouched by the door. She stopped wearing her workout clothes, stopped talking about the trainer. No more stories about brutal classes or how sore she was. She didn't even bother with the perfume anymore. That familiar floral scent that used to fill the house when she walked in. It was like she'd given up trying to convince me. Maybe she was just tired of the act, or maybe she was spooked. I couldn't decide which. I called Marissa one night just to get a pulse on things. She picked up after the second ring, sounding out of breath, like she'd been running around. "What's up? I need to know what's going on with Kara," I said, keeping my voice level. I wasn't asking to feel better. I wasn't even asking for reassurance. I just needed to know. There was a pause on the other end. "Kara figured it out," Marissa said, her words slow, careful. "She knows something's off. She's been weird about it, like she's trying to fix things, but doesn't know how." I leaned against the counter, the phone pressed to my ear, letting the words settle in. "She's backing off, huh?" "Yeah," Marissa replied. "She's not talking about him anymore. Whoever he is, she's acting like nothing's wrong, like it's all still normal. But it's not. She's retreating. She knows she can't keep the mask up forever." I swallowed hard, trying not to let any emotion slip through. "You think she's sorry?" Marissa's voice softened, like she could hear the tension in mine. "I don't think she knows what she's sorry for." That hit harder than it should have. I hung up without saying anything else. I didn't need her to say more. The truth was clear. Kara wasn't just trying to fix things with me. She was trying to fix something she didn't even know was broken. And I wasn't going to let her. The next morning, Kara was in the kitchen, making breakfast. She was humming some tune under her breath, a little too loud. The eggs sizzled in the pan, and the smell of coffee curled around the edges of the room. Everything was normal. Too normal. She looked at me when I walked in, that same fake brightness in her eyes. "I thought you'd be sleeping in," she said, a little too casual. I didn't answer right away. I just watched her, her hands moving mechanically around the kitchen, flipping the eggs, stirring the coffee. She was pretending again, but it felt hollow this time. She came over to me, leaned in like she always did, brushing against my side as she handed me a plate. I could feel the tension in her movements, like she was trying to recreate something that had already slipped away. I took the plate from her, set it down on the counter. "Kara," I said quietly, keeping my voice steady. She froze, her hand still hovering in the air, a fork clutched tight in her fingers. "What?" I looked at her, really looked at her for the first time in a long while. "I know." Her face fell. Her eyes shifted away, like she was looking for something to hold on to. But there was nothing there. No excuses, no lies, just the truth sitting between us like a wall. For a long moment, neither of us said anything. I didn't need to say more. She knew what I meant. Finally, she spoke, her voice quiet, almost apologetic. "I didn't want this to happen." I shook my head, a small laugh escaping me, though there was nothing funny about it. "You didn't want this? But you still let it happen." Her mouth opened like she was going to say something, but nothing came out. For the first time, she had nothing left. No comeback, no lie to throw in my face. Felt like the whole room shifted, like I'd finally stepped out of the fog, and the world around me became clear. She was waiting for me to yell, to accuse her, to make a scene. But I wasn't going to give her that. I wasn't going to give her anything. So, I just stood there, letting the silence hang between us. For the first time in months, I wasn't looking for an answer. I already knew. We didn't yell. We didn't scream. It was like the years of noise and games had suddenly boiled down to a single moment of clarity. And there was no space for anything else but the truth. Kara sat on the edge of the couch, arms crossed, her eyes darting away whenever they met mine. She was trying to keep it together, but the cracks were there, deep, wide. I could see it in the way her lips trembled and the way her fingers kept curling into her sleeves. "I didn't want this to happen," she said, her voice low, almost pleading. I nodded, though I didn't believe her anymore. "You didn't want it? You didn't want what?" "To get caught." Her eyes snapped up to mine, sharp now, defensive. "You're being cold." Could have argued, could have snapped back. But I stayed calm, every muscle in my body telling me to hold it together, not to give her the satisfaction of an emotional outburst. "I'm not being cold, Kara. I'm just done with the games." She scoffed, throwing her hands up in the air. This is what you wanted, right? You wanted to throw everything away like it didn't mean anything. I leaned in just enough to close the space between us. I'm not throwing anything away. You are. You've already done it. Her face softened for a second, but it didn't last. She wiped at her eyes, trying to keep herself composed. I ended it. I ended it, okay? Her voice cracked, and for a brief moment, I could see the panic in her eyes. I didn't blink. You ended it? Or are you just saying that because you think it makes it better? She opened her mouth like she was going to say something, but the words didn't come. It was like she was fishing for a reason, any reason that would make this less real, less permanent. I leaned back, letting the silence stretch out between us. She was trying so hard to maintain control, but we both knew, it was slipping away. I let her squirm for a moment, then asked the question that had been burning in the back of my mind. Do you regret it? Or do you just regret losing control? Her eyes flickered, a flash of guilt crossing her face before it was gone. I don't know what you're talking about, she muttered, but I could see the cracks widening. She didn't have an answer. I shook my head, the edge of a laugh threatening to escape. You don't have to lie to me anymore. I'm done playing house. The words hung in the air, cold and final. Her face crumpled then, her composure finally cracking. She reached for me, her voice trembling as she said, I want to fix this. I want us to fix it. I could feel the weight of her hand hovering near mine, but I didn't take it. I didn't need her to touch me. I didn't need her to fix anything. You're not afraid of losing me, Kara? I said quietly, my voice steady. You're afraid of losing the control you had over me. Her face twisted, a mix of anger and hurt. That's not true, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. You're just being cruel now. I didn't argue with her. I didn't need to. The truth was staring both of us in the face, and she knew it. I'm not being cruel, Kara. I'm just done. You lost me a long time ago. I motioned between us, the empty space in the room growing wider with every word. This is just the moment you noticed. She sat back, the tears finally spilling over, but they didn't reach me anymore. She was trying to pull me back in, using everything she knew would make me feel guilty. But I wasn't going to take the bait. I'd already left. I didn't think Kara would try again, but she did. It was subtle, like she was testing the waters. One night, after dinner, she came into the living room wearing that perfume. The same scent she wore on our first anniversary. It hit me before I saw her, soft and sweet, the kind of scent that always used to make my chest tighten. I didn't move. I didn't react. I just stayed where I was, arms crossed, watching her. She stood in the doorway, hesitant, like she wasn't sure if she should push it any further. She took a small step forward, then another, until she was standing just a few feet away from me. I could feel the air change, feel her trying to pull me back into something that wasn't real anymore. She reached out, brushed her hand against my arm, and whispered, You missed this, right? For a moment, I felt the old pull. I felt the weight of the memory, of the woman I once loved, the woman who used to wear that perfume and kiss me softly, like we were still a team. But it was all just a ghost. I looked at her, calm as I could manage, and shook my head. No, you don't attract me anymore. It was like a slap. She flinched, her face going red, then pale. Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't blink. I wasn't going to let her break me with her act anymore. You're being cruel, she snapped, her voice rising now, each word sharp like she was trying to cut through the truth. I didn't flinch. I stood my ground. No, you performed. Now the show's over. She took a step back, eyes flashing with anger, but it wasn't real. She was grasping at straws, trying to make me feel guilty, trying to twist this into something I could still fix. But I knew better now. You've never cared, she muttered, almost to herself, her voice thick with hurt. You just let it happen. You never even fought for me. I exhaled, slow and steady, forcing myself to stay calm when all I wanted to do was shout. I fought, Kara. I fought quietly, while you lied loudly. Her breath hitched, like I'd slapped her again. She opened her mouth to say something, but it wasn't going to change anything. "You lost me a long time ago," I said, my voice low but firm. This is just the moment you noticed." The words hit her harder than I expected. Her face twisted, and she started shaking her head, like she couldn't understand. But I could see it, the real truth sinking in. She wasn't angry at me. She was angry at herself, because deep down, she knew it was over. "I don't know why you're doing this," she whispered, her voice breaking now. "You could still fix it." But I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She wasn't asking to fix us. She was asking to fix her. She needed to know she still had control over me, and I wasn't going to give her that anymore. She turned away then, the tears finally falling freely, but I didn't chase after her. I didn't comfort her. I didn't need to anymore. The moment was gone. The act was over, and she was just as lost as I was. But she couldn't admit it yet. 2 days passed in silence. Not the comfortable kind of quiet, but the kind that fills a space with 1,000 unsaid things. She went about her business, pretending everything was fine. I did the same, but the air between us was thick with it, the weight of everything left unsaid, everything already decided. Saturday morning came, the sun barely up, and the house still felt heavy. I was sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling through my phone when I heard the door slam shut. Kara stormed in, her face set, something different in her eyes. There was no pleading anymore, no pretending. She was done. She slapped a set of divorce papers down in front of me. The sound of the paper hitting the table was sharp, final. "I'm done playing games," she said, her voice trembling but firm. I looked at the papers, then up at her, calmly. "Already filed." Her face froze. She blinked, then blinked again, like she couldn't comprehend what I just said. Her mouth opened, but no words came out at first. "What do you mean, already filed?" Her voice was high now, like she was trying to hold on to control that was slipping through her fingers. I didn't flinch. "I've already signed my papers. It's done." Her eyes went wide, and for a second, I almost saw something close to fear in them. She glanced at the papers in front of her, then back at me, confusion giving way to rage. "What the hell?" I thought you'd be shocked." I shook my head slowly. "You thought you were taking the power back." My words were steady, quiet. "You didn't realize I'd already walked away." Her face twisted, and then she grabbed the papers from the table and tore them in half. The sound was raw, like she was trying to rip something out of me. Her hands were shaking. "You never loved me," she spat, the words sharp with hurt and anger. I didn't react, didn't give her the satisfaction of a fight. "You're wrong," I said softly, but with finality. "I loved you. I just stopped waiting." The silence after that was deafening. She was staring at me now, trying to find some crack in my resolve, some place where she could still twist it, but there was nothing left to twist. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she asked, "What now?" I didn't have an answer for her. There was no what now. It was over. It had been over for a long time, but I had given her the space to figure it out, to face it on her own. I wasn't going to be the one to carry that weight anymore. I stood up, walking past her without a glance back. "You can keep playing if you want," I said, heading for the door, my hand on the handle. "But I'm done." She didn't try to stop me. She didn't say anything else. The door shut behind me with a soft click, and for the first time in a long time, it felt like I was breathing again. The hearing was quiet, too quiet. No drama, no shouting, no tearful pleas. Just a series of questions, answers, and the judge scribbling notes, her pen tapping the paper like she was counting the minutes until it was over. Marissa took the stand. She was calm, collected, even if her eyes flickered to Kara once or twice, like she wasn't sure how much of the truth she could lay bare. But she answered every question, her voice steady, nothing too personal, just the facts. Kara sat across the room, her face stone cold, not a hint of emotion as she watched Marissa speak. She didn't even look at me. I wondered if she was still hoping for some last-minute miracle, some twist of fate that would undo everything we'd built or destroyed, depending on how you saw it. But I wasn't looking for her anymore. The judge nodded after a few more questions, her eyes on the paperwork. "It's final," she said, her voice sharp. "Final. Divorce granted." There it was. No fanfare, no emotion. Just a clean break. I stood up, and the room felt smaller, tighter. But I didn't feel the rush of victory or relief. Not the way I thought I would. I just felt done. That was all. Outside, the air was warmer than I expected. The sun hanging low in the sky like it was trying to wash away the last of the tension that had built up over the past months. It felt strange, like I was walking out of one life and into another, but I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I walked to an old cafe I used to love, a place with worn-out chairs and a smell of stale pastries, the kind of place that felt like home even when it wasn't. I ordered a coffee and sat by the window, looking out at the street, watching people walk by, their lives moving along without a care. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't check it. I didn't need to. I took a slow sip of my drink, feeling the warmth spread through me, but more than that, I felt still. No more chasing, no more running. I wasn't being chased, and I wasn't chasing. That's all I wanted. To be done. To let it go.